This is a velvet coat and it has embroidery of a flower called Sweet Sicily, sort of arts and crafts era. It's by a department store called Marshall and Snellgrove. So I can imagine just swishing around the house in this. I just love it.
I'm here today to visit the Royal School of Needlework.
Do you think this has faded over time or discoloured?
I suspect these may well have been a green.
So I am going on the road with a big piece of velvet and my trusty embroidery frame. I have a frame on the go in each country and just go back and forth between two panels. I am in a very unusual Airbnb. This is a literal church, and I have to say, in this place, I do feel like an artist. I don't know whether I normally would, but there's something about this place. I came here with the two pieces of the frame with the cotton on. I have attached the velvet, I've marked out this piece. I'm just doing all of the leaves first this time and seeing whether that goes faster because I'm doing one thing at a time. So I think I'm going significantly faster now, which is very comforting to actually feel like I'm getting somewhere. So I will pack up and move on to my next place. A little cozy. This is a bit of a change from the church. We're in a tiny little beautiful cozy cottage in the Derbyshire countryside. There is the most incredible garden outside going down to the River Derwent, and I am just loving it here, and I am living with the coziness. It's a bit of a shock after the last place. I've changed colour this month and I'm now working on the stems. Last month you saw me sewing all of the leaves on this piece of the coat, and now I'm adding the stems in for each spray of flowers. It's all coming together. It's sort of joining the leaves together as we go across the piece. So I'm really enjoying doing that. So I'm just nearly done now, and I need to just put this pattern back on here to measure out the last little bit I'm doing, which is this spray at the top. And again, this is not going to be exactly like the original coat. I'm going to bring my own artistry to it to do my own version, because it is impossible to make an actual copy of anything without any creative thought going into it. And there is inherently creativity that goes into looking at an extant piece of clothing in a glass case and imagining and attempting to recreate how it was done, because there will be no one right answer. So I reserve my artist title. So, my little curved leaves were very artistic, and now I feel like I'm putting in, I suppose, the more left-brained straight lines and joining up the structure. I'm putting in the structure to go with it. So really the structure I'm thinking of as I'm doing this is not just the sewing practice, the practice whereby I come and do this every day, but also the structure I've created that enables me to do this stuff at 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. I have my own business. I've been self-employed for basically since dinosaurs roamed the earth. 1996 was when I left university and started my own business. And it was a wedding dress business. I started out making historically inspired wedding dresses. And I did that for about 10 years. I made some lovely dresses for some very lovely brides. And it didn't work at all in the end, because really you're making stuff when you're taking dressmaking commissions. I found it very difficult to make more than pocket money based on how many hours I was spending sewing these fabulous dresses. I also found that it was just very difficult to find customers, or the right kind of customers. The customers who had the budget and the right attitude, because when you're getting something custom made, it's something most people don't experience. So there is a lot of room for things to go wrong, because you need to do a lot of educating your customer. So eventually, after 10 years doing that, I hit upon the idea for a business that would be entirely online, teaching costume making, and started that in 2007. 16 years later, here we are. And we now have a team of 12 people and many, many members. And it is a wonderful privilege to be able to serve people that way and to be able to be part of this community. There are a whole bunch of stories in our culture about what it means to be a professional artist or creative in whatever capacity. This is the starving artist myth goes back about 250 years, and it goes back to the story that inspired the opera. Well, actually, there's 2 operas called La Bohème, and this is where that whole idea of the starving artist began. And it's certainly, there are many, many creative people who struggle, and who struggle to make a living, and who struggle to charge what they're worth and receive it. We have a big, big problem with money in the creative industries, shall we say. And I feel like over the last 10 years or so, I gradually figured it out. 2013, after 17 years, I finally earned a full-time living from my own business. It literally took 17 years to figure that out. And it was only 2020 when I started earning, a decent living rather than earning just enough to get by, you know. And now I have a team of 12 people who are all also earning a reasonable living. So I've figured out a few things about how this business works. And I'm very blessed and grateful that I am what you might call one of the lucky ones. Except it isn't luck. It's bloody minded determination. Because there are plenty of people out there running successful businesses, so it's just a case of not only learning how to do your craft or your art, but figuring out how business works when it's done well. And I feel like I've come a long way with that. After it's now 27 years I've been self-employed. So I think I've figured a couple of things out. So that is the subject of our free class this month, if you haven't already guessed. I am really surprised that nobody has yet commented on this. Yeah, the top corner of this panel comes to a point, and I didn't cut the backing fabric quite long enough, so I needed an extra little flap of velvet there, and we'll have to attach another piece of cotton there just for that top corner. But nobody on the internet has noticed, so it's okay. Okay, so this is coming on well, so this is what I've just done, and now we end here, take this down under here, and then I'm coming up again here. I'm always trying not to make it look too regular and even. Okay, so 4mm-ish. Going back under there. I'm going to twist that way so that when the stitch tightens up, it's going to pull it back the other way a little bit. It was twisting the thread, so by twisting them the other way I stopped that happening as much. And again, I am not a trained embroiderer. This is very much making it up as you go along. So take this not as instruction, but as proof that you can figure it out well enough for hobby purposes. And you notice I'm also pulling up a little bit on each stitch, because that's just what I've seen. I have no idea whether that's how they were doing it, but on the original coat you can see the stitches look that way, so I'm just manually loosening each stitch to try and replicate that effect. And I'm sure all of the embroiderers watching will tell me how to do it better, but I don't think it's bad for a rank amateur. And that last one, do that, pull on that stitch a bit. And then as for finishing those threads on the back, let's show you how I do that. Our free class this month is Creative Craft to Business, turning your passion into your livelihood. Join me on Thursday, November the 16th, when I'll show you how you can make a living from your creative passions if you want to, on your own terms and without burning out. If you've ever felt like a round peg in a square hole at your day job because you'd so much rather be creating something of your own, if you're full of ideas for a cool business but you're not convinced that you could really make it work without either going bankrupt or burning out, or both, if you're frustrated because you did take that leap and you are either going bankrupt or burning out, or both, if you're super clear on the business you want to create but you're just terrified of putting yourself out there because, well, imposter syndrome is a thing, if you feel hopeless about ever finding customers who get how much your work is worth, or stuck in a cycle of making small commissions for pocket money with little hope that you'll ever break through into a business that actually sets you free, if you wish that you just had a structured method and good advice for building a business in the creative space so you can spend less time struggling and more time living a fulfilled creative life, then I invite you to join me in this free workshop that is just for us. It will be taking place live on Thursday, November the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern, and yes, there will be a recording available if you can't make it live. And you can sign up for that class up here or at the link in the description below, and there'll also be a link at the end of this video. If you are a Foundations Revealed member, you will also need to sign up too this time. This is a subject very close to my heart because it's a road I've walked myself since 1996. Small business is an area where the world and his wife is only too happy to give you advice, but I know better than anyone that only other business owners really know what this is like. I have a lot of experience in this area, and I'm very excited to share more about how this business really works behind the scenes. So it's going to be a very real space for us to look honestly at this subject, kick that starving artist myth to the curb, and figure out how this is actually done in the real world. So while you sign up for that class, I will pack up this frame and go back to my other embroidery frame in America.